They are the game changers, leaders, celebrities, advocates, outliers, newsmakers, underdogs, survivors. What do you have in common with all of them? A lot. Find out, only on Reppin', where you'll meet notable people, people you think you know. You'll find out who they really are, what they show up for, and what they represent.
There is danger everywhere. There is evil everywhere. Turn around, Allison. Look behind you. There is horror. There is darkness.
I think Allison may die.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello, people.
This week, we'll be discussing the horror classic, The Sentinel, starring Chris Sarandon,
That's all
Burgess
you need
Meredith,
to know.
Ava Gardner.
It's a mother effing all-star cast.
It's really kind of bizarre how many celebrities are in this. And even it's like, if you blink, there are random celebrity extras walking around in the background for no reason whatsoever.
People are like hanging out at Sardi's going, hey, have you heard the buzz about the Sentinel? Get in, man. Get in
there. Each week on the podcast, It Wouldn't Die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. Aaron, how are you doing? Surviving the hurricane?
The new location of the ring light and me using my Surface Pro seems to be giving me something that looks like a 5 o'clock shadow. Son of a bitch.
I don't think it's the ring light doing that, to be honest.
For the viewers who are watching us, I'm trying to use my work computer to do this podcast because I managed to fill up my new desktop with all my pictures. So now I only get errors. So we're trying something new. So basically, if you're watching this, the central focus of my camera is, in fact, my microphone. It's
Perfect.
quite professional. Quite professional.
And are you ready for the hurricane that's going to sweep across California?
Dude, you don't even know. So, someone from the friend group put out a group text. What's everybody doing to prep? People are like, prep for what? For the hurricane. I'm like, first of all, California's never had a hurricane. Ever. And as soon as it hits land, I mean, from San Diego, that's like a 7-hour drive. So not overly concerned. I will not be out getting sandbags. We're anticipating 2.2 inches, which is a lot for us, but not enough for me to do anything different.
No sandbagging?
I'm not sandbagging. I will be opening my curtain so I can watch whatever little rain there is, because we're basically a desert. So that'd be interesting. On the flip side, did you see our old hometown of Palm Springs is due for 4.8 inches? That's a different situation.
They need that.
If we had 4.8, we're going to be in deep shit. Our roads are going to close.
Oh, really? That's serious
sure.
business.
Well, because the river is already completely full. I mean, a year ago, the river was empty. All the fish had died. The turtles had crawled out, were trying to cross the road to find water, and people were running them over. It was an apocalypse. It was an apocalypse. Now, I've lived here like 20 years. The river is bank to bank full. They're already concerned about that. So we shall see.
I woke up yesterday morning and Alexa was flashing in our kitchen. I'm like, Alexa, what's the notification? And
it said, I don't understand what you said.
It said,
at least that's what mine says.
Prepare for cyclonic winds, is what it said. And I'm like, excuse me? Cyclonic?
Excuse me?
I was like, a cyclone up in here? What you talking about, Willis?
Did you assume it was Russian hacking?
Could be. I can't close the door on it. Who knows? It's all Russian.
And are you in Oz right now?
Pretty much. I need to find my ruby ass slippers. So, sweet Jesus. We'll let you guys know. Thank you, climate change. What's next? A volcanic eruption in the middle of Irvine? Could be.
Meanwhile, while saying that, I'm gonna make my air conditioning even colder.
Absolutely. You got to. You got to. Okay. The Sentinel. Give us your 30-second
Sentinel.
synopsis of the
Dude,
Sentinel.
model, living in New York, as one does, decides she needs to be a little bit more independent from her boyfriend. She's like, even though we've been living together for like 2 years, I feel like I need to go and pay my own bills. And he cool with that. Me, my boyfriend, after living together for 2 years, needs to be more independent. We all know what the F that means. That means I want to screw other people.
Deuces.
So he was like, oh, okay. So she literally finds the most amazing mansion on the water in New York, $400.
Furnished.
$400. I can afford $400. I mean, who knows what $400 meant in 1977, but I'm guessing it was still cheap. So anyway, neighbors are weird. She immediately gets to watch Beverly D'Angelo masturbate in front of her.
I almost fell out of my chair when that happened.
And stays to finish her coffee. So anyway, freaks show up. Bad things happen. She's getting headaches. She can't place the wine. Yeah. Once again, the Catholics are in charge of the whole world, as we are. And we're the only thing saving y'all from hell. Hell on earth. So, thank you,
You're
Papa
welcome.
Francesco. Thank you, Papa Francesco.
Now, do you remember, had you ever seen this before all the way through?
I have indeed. I believe I was the one who recommended this. Not like in the theater, it's 1977, but I saw it on late night TV somewhere, sometime. And I remember it being creepy.
I remember seeing bits and pieces of this movie. Like, all I remember is like, there's a model in a crazy old apartment building with crazy freaks in the apartment, and something's going on with hell. Like it's a doorway to hell. That's all I remembered. I don't remember anything about the cast. Or
did you know the Elephant Man was in hell? I feel sad about that. What crime
We're going
did
to talk
he
about
commit?
that. We're going to talk about that. I have notes, copious notes about that.
There's some problematic scenes in this.
Yes. Yes. I wrote down distasteful and underlined it. So I was vaguely familiar with it. Then I saw, again, it was like AMC or Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments. And it talks about the scene where she's up at the middle of the night, scouring the empty apartments upstairs. And then the door opens. You just see this figure come walking across the room.
Oh, yeah. Her dad.
That was scary. Her dad
that was scary
was
as
revealed
hell.
to be her dad. Yeah. It was scary. It was scary. That was a scary moment. I watched it in broad daylight today or the other day, and I was just kind of like, okay. Still, but if you know it's coming, it's less scary. If you know what the story is, it's less scary. But in the moment, it's definitely a creepy moment, to say the least. One thing I want to say about this movie is it's directed by Michael Winner, who's a British film director who is famous because he directed all the Death Wish movies. And is notorious.
Is that why What's-His-Face is in this movie?
Yes, I'm sure.
Jeff Goldblum. Because he was in the first Death Wish. I was like, how do you turn your career from rapist number 3, which was a hardcore freaking scene, into now the beloved Jeff Goldblum?
Absolutely. Well, Michael Winner is notorious for basically mistreating his actors. So basically, talking about this movie, the two main actors called it like the worst acting experiences of their lives, and basically said they basically wanted to stop acting after having been in this with this particular director.
Chris Sarandon?
Chris Sarandon said, I think I'm going to quit acting after this. It was so awful.
Oh, God.
Dealing with this director. And basically that's what they say. It's like if you watch... I watched this documentary on the Canon movies who did all the death wishes after the first one, like 2 through 7 or whatever it was, and how there's always like horrible rape scenes that are just uncomfortable
Yes.
for everybody. All the actors are like, even the rapists are like, do we have to keep doing this? Can we wrap this
Do
up?
I really need to spray paint her ass after I rape her in front of her
Right.
mother?
Right, where people are horrified, and it was always way too long and way too distasteful. That's this director.
Oh, I never watched another Death Wish movie after that. Never. I
Probably a
was
good
like,
move.
Charles Bronson is just like a monster. I will only watch him in Twilight Zone episodes at this point.
That's all you have to do. Absolutely. Well, I like 60s Charles Bronson, The Great Escape, The Dirty Dozen. You don't want to get to 80s Charles Bronson, where everything he's doing is he's one man against a gang of rapists roaming the streets. It's like, I don't want to see all the gory details, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, let's jump right into the highlights. Go for it. What do you got first?
Dude, Christopher Walken is in this freaking movie.
Yeah, it's like 2 lines.
And he's beautiful. He was fresh, young Christopher Walken. I don't even know if he'd done The Deer Hunter yet, but no. Beautiful with his sad, sexy eyes.
He plays police detective number 2 in this movie, essentially. That's what's so weird. In this movie, it's peopled with like fading film stars, like we talked about.
Ava
Martin
Gardner
Balsam,
is the
Ava
real estate
Gardner is the realtor, yes.
The man who broke Frank Sinatra's heart, broke up his marriage, ran off with bullfighters, lived her like best mother effing life.
Absolutely. She's in, it's people, Burgess Meredith, all these older actors. And then you've got young up and coming actors, in many cases playing ridiculously small roles.
Burgess Meredith is a treasure. I don't know how Hollywood continues without Burgess Meredith. He
agree.
Is such an iconic character. He can do anything. He can be creepy. He's the freaking coach from Rocky. I mean, he is your father. He is your nightmare. He is the Penguin.
Absolutely.
He can do anything. And when he slips into her apartment and leaves that picture frame of himself holding the flowers, I was like, I need that fucking picture for my house. Ghost of Burgess Meredith, please send me that picture.
Absolutely. Ghost of if you're with us now, if you can hear us.
Let's all hold hands. I'm lighting the candle.
So, what's her name is a fashion model. Like you said, she's living with Chris Sarandon, her boyfriend, who looks very young and has a crazy mustache. Little Errol Flynn mustache for no reason.
It's like with the big gap in the center, it's 2 caterpillars, one on either side, coming together to meet each other.
It's disturbing, to say the least. She's been with him, living with him for 2 years, like you said, since she got out of the hospital, which they don't tell us what that means. And she's just like, yeah, I mean, I love him and I'm ready to get married to him someday. But I want to move out and get my own place. So it's kind of these contradictory things. And you're right. He seemed remarkably chill by it. You're like, okay, are you sure you still want to do this? Okay, I'll help you look for places.
Well, then we find the backstory.
Later, they creep it out to a point where you're like, what? What's happening? Go ahead. What's the backstory of Chris Sarandon?
So Chris Sarandon, as it turns out, our heroine was his mistress.
Yes.
He was married, and she had a mysterious suicide fall off a 59-story building, which then causes our heroine to try to commit suicide again.
Right.
So she if you're going to try to commit suicide, something tells me that you had some responsibility for the death.
Well,
so who is this Chris Sarandon character? Is he the husband from Rosemary's Baby? A sad coincidence? Because when the police are interrogating him, he acting like he been through this before. There might be 10 other dead wives.
Oh, well, yeah, they basically...
He was acting like frickin' Bluebeard.
Yes. When Eli Wallach, the detective, and Christopher Walken interrogate him, they make it clear, yes, you were acquitted of your wife's murder, but we still think you did it. we think you're the one in some way who caused her death.
And
Which
he's
is
too cool for school. We would
Yes.
cry because we're clearly innocent, but he
Right.
is cold as ice.
Absolutely. This is like 45 minutes into the movie. They kind of mention this little subplot. We're like, whoa, where's this coming from? Earlier in the movie, we discover the first time the model attempted suicide was when a bizarre flashback. She comes home from school one day and busts in on her elderly father involved mid-orge. Mid-orge. It was kind of a bacchanalia where there's like cake and nakedness going
You
on
gotta
there.
watch out for that cake. You can get a yeast infection. You don't want all that sugar in
Sweet
places
Jesus.
you don't need.
Good Lord.
And
the
then
father's
he just starts slapping her, and then she goes, so her first intention would be, you know, maybe you want to burn the house down, but then you just run and commit suicide immediately because you know
does,
you're
yeah.
I guess you know you're never gonna get that image out of your brain. You might as well pluck it out, man.
Pluck it out. Pluck it out. Yes, the father's reaction to being caught in flagrante is to start smacking her, saying, I told you never to come in here. Smack, smack. And then there's a scene moments later where because the father has died, and that's why she's remembering this traumatic incident. The mom, who's still alive, the widow, says like, well, I stayed because I had nowhere else to go. But I guess she's inherited this vast estate, so I guess it all worked out in the end, right?
Correct.
So,
I mean, if this is your memory, the first memory you have is when you go home, why would you even go?
why
I'll be
would
like,
you
I'll see you
even
at
go?
the funeral, Ma.
Well, and Chris Sarandon doesn't go with her. Did you notice
Yeah,
that as well? She like goes because they're in New York. She goes to Baltimore, which is where she's from, for the funeral of her dead father. And Chris Sarandon's like, "Yeah, how'd it go? Everything okay with that? With your dead
Still
father?
dead?
Still dead?
I
Pretty much.
imagine that Chris Sarandon is one of those like mafia attorneys. That's how I imagine it. Like his soul is also dead. It's
He
not
was-
like everyone deserves justice. No.
He was dressed very metrosexual to me. He had a quality
it was
about him.
the 70s. Don't touch my hair.
Don't touch my hair.
He has the matching 70s three-piece suit. His hair is coiffed.
Yes.
And I believe someone at the very beginning of the movie, the real estate agent, does call him out on looking particularly fancy. I was trying to figure out, are you implying that he's gay? Did
That's
you get
what I
that
was
vibe?
implying. That's what I was implying. He had a certain air about him.
I think his mustache would have been bigger. It really needed to be more Village People leather, dude.
I see. Harry Reams kind of thing.
There
Anywho,
you go.
my other question is there a lot of demand for models with multiple like scars on their wrists from suicide attempts? Question.
Interesting. Well, the jinkiest part is she's going out for a job. She has her portfolio, and
Yes.
some of the pictures look like 1970s Town and Country, Cosmopolitan.
Town
and
and
then
Country.
Remember Town and Country magazine? That's
Go
when I was
ahead.
going to live my best life. I was all
Right.
going to be about Town and Country, and then there'd be like a people where the quality of the photograph is clearly off, like it is
Polaroid.
gray and flat. One minute it's Love's Baby Soft, and the next minute it was like a photocopy of a photo. I'm like, because you couldn't string together 5 good pictures, or what?
They can't all be winners.
I mean,
Can't
she's
all be
not
winners.
unattractive, and I love the fashion. Everybody is in flowing silk, whatever, hoods. It looked great. It looked great.
There were 2 really funny photo shoot moments that I have to talk about. Jeff Goldblum is a photographer where first of all, it's Jeff Goldblum, but he's dubbed with a crazy voice. Did you notice that? It was
No,
not Jeff
why are they
Goldblum's
dubbing?
voice.
Because he just used profanity the whole time. Why
Just
would you
nonstop
dub Jeff
profanity.
Goldblum?
It's bizarre. If you go back and listen, and you'll see like that doesn't sound like no Jeff Goldblum.
I'm not going back. They charged me $4.99 to watch this.
Well, you should still have it for another 12 hours or something. If you're
right.
inclined, you may not
I
be.
see.
But so
All right.
he's taking pictures where she's standing there with 2 giant Afghan dogs, and then spontaneous, the dogs go nuts, start chasing people. The peacock falls in the pool. There's all sorts of shit's just going bonkers. And the lady's just like, I'm just going to the bathroom. And he's like, might as well. Everything else is going to shit right now. So it was a good. It
They
was a
wanted to throw in
bizarre
a little
moment.
levity.
Well, you wonder if it was kind of an Omen moment where the giant baboons attack the car. Because at this point, I think she's already been touched, chosen to be the next Sentinel. Spoiler alert.
I think you have, because literally the sunlight of the Holy Spirit is coming from the ceiling, burning a hole in your head right now. Maybe you're the next Sentinel.
I could be.
For those of you who are going to watch this on YouTube, and perhaps you should check this out, I'm afraid that the laser beam will, in fact, just burn a hole through your brain.
Stranger things have happened.
I have to tell you, though, because I do remember some 70s and looking at, like, 17 magazine back in the day.
Of course.
I was not 17. Those Afghan hounds, Russian wolfhounds. Yep. The 70s was all like this romantic. We were all like, Smirnoff vodka is like you're a czar dressed in fur. You have these giant dogs sitting around you. It was kind of a thing. And I think I remember wanting an Afghan hound. Not because I like dogs, but they were that was like a dog to have.
Right. It seemed like they're kind of like wealth and elegance.
Wealth and elegance.
Afghan with the long hair. Yes. It's a thing. Like you're in the south of France with your dog standing there on at your villa or whatever. Absolutely.
100%. Birth control is now a thing.
It's a thing.
So bring it all on.
So the other photo shoot I want to talk about is she's filming a commercial with Jerry Orbach from a number of things, from Dirty Dancing.
God, from Beauty and the Beast, from Law and Order.
Law and Order.
But I was like, wait a minute, he looks familiar. And then he spoke. And I was like, what?
Yes, he's the director of the wine commercial. And her whole job is she pours herself a glass of wine and has to put the bottle down in such a way that the label is facing the camera. And she keeps messing it up. She keeps... Hey, it's all take 8, take 14. I'm like, how hard is it? I was getting irritated as well. I'm like, just tilt the damn bottle towards the camera. What the hell's wrong with you? You think you would have just fired her ass? I mean, was she that famous?
How about a rehearsal? How about we tried a couple times without wasting film? How about that?
Well, 14 times is not enough?
How about a close up on the bottle where like the grip just slowly turns it so you can see the label of the Pinot Noir?
Well, after she staggers into a mirror or something, collapses on the floor, he finally just says, "F it, let's get somebody else in here. We'll do somebody else's hand for the close up of the bottle." I'm like, good thinking. Good thinking.
And just because I know no one ever asked for this, but you're going to get like a few minutes of camera trivia because I happen to have the camera. There's a close-up of the Z on Jeff Goldblum as he's taking pictures before he switches to 35 millimeter. So I have this camera.
For Zorro?
For Zenzabronica. It is the medium format. Most of the time, they use like a Hasselblad for fashion photography, which is the same. It's like it has the negatives that are this big, right?
You're just making
up
words.
Hasselblad with the lenses I have is like $2,500 right now. Well, this little baby, I got for $3.50.
$3.50.
If only. So a little bit. You don't want to ask for it, but you're going to get camera information anyway.
Well, let me write this down, for goodness sake. What else you got?
The Bronica.
What else you got?
I put... I find that she's very fragile, yet likable. The fragile seems very irritating.
Well, the weird thing is when she isn't like collapsing on the floor and passing out, she seems like an independent woman. Right? She seems well in control of herself. And then every now and then she says, I have a headache, and then falls on the floor. So I don't know what the hell
women were more sensitive in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. There was
swooning.
A lot of hysterical vagina, a lot of some vapors, a lot of things going on here. It was very creepy.
Yes.
After meeting all the characters in the house. that she goes to the real estate agent to complain about the upstairs neighbor making noise at 3 a.m, and then you have a tour of the house where it's clearly uninhabited.
I had a big issue with that. I had a huge issue. So she meets Burgess Meredith, who's one of the people who live in the apartment. He's creeping and seems weird but nice.
He seems
Then
like a character. I would
he's a
want
character.
Burgess Meredith in my apartment. He had like a little parakeet on his shoulder, a little yellow parakeet, and a cat. I don't know,
Right.
named Satan. And,
No, it was
Peninsula
Mortimer
or something.
and Jezebel were the
Yeah.
two. I don't remember the main actress's character's name, but I remember Mortimer and Jezebel. And then she meets the weird lesbian couple downstairs, which is very upsetting to me. There's the older woman who looked like she was about 75, but was clearly like probably about 53.
She was probably 53. It was a
Yes.
hard 53, but her tits were fantastic. They were just popping
popping.
and solid.
Right in your eyeball. Huge
Yeah.
boob popping in your eye, which is always very I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. Because her face is the face of an 80-year-old woman, and she has 25-year-old bosoms. So I don't know what to
And
do.
great bod. They're dressed as ballerinas. She has clearly never breastfed 4 children. But, and then you have her little friend, Beverly D'Angelo.
In her first movie, Beverly D'Angelo, and she has no lines. Has no lines, but within 3 minutes of meeting her, she starts masturbating in front of she's the model sitting there drinking her tea with her pinky up, and then the lady just immediately starts rubbing on herself, and I'm like, what am I seeing? I literally wrote down Beverly D'Angelo, what the hell? And it went on for a few minutes.
Why are you still sitting there?
Yes.
She just turns her head like accidentally a boob fell out. This is a different situation than somebody turned and you saw something you shouldn't have seen.
Absolutely.
This is a situation. I would have been all, what the fuck?
Absolutely.
And then I'm out, and I'm not having coffee at your crazy house because you're obviously trying to recruit me into your witch's den.
Oh, no question. Well, the older lady had left the room. She comes back and she tries to continue conversation. Oh, what do you do for a living? And her response was, we fondle each other. And that's when she's like, okay, I think I'm good now. And then she leaves. And she's chased down the hall by the older woman. It's not nice to leave without saying goodbye, or something along those lines. Burgess Meredith.
It's not nice to diddle yourself in front of strangers.
Right. It was, yes. I wondered if they were making some kind of transgressive statement about lesbians, because from there on, they were just referred to as the lesbians.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, honestly, it just seemed...
Maybe you're right.
It was...
Well, at first, I wasn't even sure if it was a mother and daughter. Who knows?
It was weird. It was weird.
Beverly, she doesn't speak.
She had a bad relationship with her last male friend, or so. There was some comment like that, and now... which drove her into the arms of a lesbian. And now we're both lesbians diddling each other for everybody who'll come by and say hello. So
based on what we know about the residents, did we figure out what crimes they committed?
They all were murderers.
They're all murderers, but I'm wondering if then Beverly D'Angelo had not murdered the gentleman from the bad relationship.
I think that was revealed something to that degree. So yeah, Beverly. So the model, what is the model's name? Do you remember what her name was? I cannot remember. She is invited later. She's invited to a dinner party for Jezebel the cat, thrown by Burgess Meredith. And at that point, she meets an assortment of other older people around the table.
Now, Kevin.
Yes.
Would you go to the party with the masturbator? If this is the level of situation going on.
Well, it was weird. Number one, Burgess Meredith comes to her door to collect her, to invite her. Oh, she's like, oh, I have a headache. Maybe I'll just stop by. But she doesn't just stop by. She stays for the evening, for the whole night's festivities. I mean, even, truth be told, even without the bizarre masturbating couple, if I'm walking in there and it's all just 90-year-olds, I'm probably only staying for 5 minutes anyway.
I mean, if there's a buffet, if drinks are provided.
If there's a buffet, absolutely.
But there's almost the idea was, did she really attend or was this a dream? Because everybody's naked. Well, let's be very clear. Moments. All the women are topless. All the men are fully dressed, as one did in the 70s. And then she wakes up.
But that was kind of later. She attends the party, and then it's smash cut to she's in bed asleep, and that's when I thought she was kind of remembering the party. Where you're right, then there are flashes where everybody's topless, which is also very upsetting when most of the people are at least 85 years old. Nudity.
There was a lot of things that were triggering Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
Great apartment, weirdo neighbors. You got Burgess Meredith instead of what the hell's her name from Harold and Maude. You got
Gordon is not in this movie.
But what I'm saying is Burgess Meredith is playing her role in this.
See. Gotcha.
You got there's business of the husband boyfriend is kind of janky, but isn't he always in all the horror movies?
Absolutely. Well, so to what you were saying before, she later goes and complains to the realtor saying, "What the hell? I can't sleep at night because of all the ruckus that's going on." And the lady mysteriously announces, there is no one else in this apartment except for the blind old priest on the top floor. There's no one else. So when she goes back with the realtor and they go door to door, it's like, you've been in this room yesterday and now it's filled with old furniture and cobwebs. It's clearly no one's been there in 100 years.
Right.
I would have flipped out. I would have lost my damn mind. And the model does not. She's just like, that's kind of peculiar. Moving on.
Shaking chandeliers. I mean, people in New York live. This is my vision of people in New York based on TV. I always feel like there's a train going by right outside their window. So just like footsteps, you put some earplugs on. It's a mansion for $400. Now, if it's discovered I've been canoodling with a bunch of dead people,
right?
And this is owned by the diocese, I think, can we bring in an exorcism? Because once again, I'm renting a mansion for $400. Because that would freak me out.
So there's two things going on here, right? It's revealed that the Catholic Church owns the mansion or whatever it is, the apartment building. And since the day she moved in, she knew there was a blind priest who lived up in the penthouse who just was constantly just staring out the window.
It was literally the Bates mother in the window from Psycho. There's just this figure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's her kind of experiencing these things, and then parallel, her boyfriend is doing like an investigation. And it's weird. She complains to her boyfriend that there's somebody walking around upstairs and it's disturbing her sleep. So the boyfriend, and this was a leap to me, calls a private investigator to investigate the noises above her room. That seemed weird. That seemed like a weird leap of logic.
Well, and he has a whole series. I'm back to like the mafia.
Right.
He has all these kind of shaky connections for sure. And he knows who to call for break-ins for this. He broke into the diocese office. And luckily for him, the whole file that tells the entire story of this movie is there in the front row. Why didn't they just leave it spread out on the bishop's desk?
It was.
Because it took him 3 seconds. I don't even know why they brought Homie with him. Homie, who is in Christmas Vacation as the crazy uncle, and who is also in The Producers. He's the old drunk that's hanging out with Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder at the bar while the play's going on.
He's been in a ton of stuff. So he breaks in, gets the file. This is the boyfriend now. And again, this seemed like an overreaction as well. Like he seems to discover, the boyfriend, that the building is owned by the Catholic Church. He breaks in to find out what the story is. Again, based upon his girlfriend saying, "Hey, my upstairs neighbor is making too much noise." Okay. Breaks in, pulls a file out, and it is literally a scrapbook where it's like, oh, the priest that lives upstairs up until 30 years ago was known by a different name and had attempted suicide. Flip file back further. Oh, and here's a different priest. And same thing. the last so many years of their life, they're known by one name, Father O'Halloran or whatever. But prior to that, they become a priest. They're actually known by an entirely different name, and they had attempted suicide. So it's like
But
they
that is
changed
a
their
Catholic
identity.
thing. When you become a priest or a nun, you do take on a different name. Remember when Mom was going to be a nun, she had a whole different name.
Well, but the issue is that they fake the death of their previous identity. Like,
I think
that's
they
part
just
of it.
disappear.
Or either way, there was some. But what was funny is there was like a photograph. Here's a photograph of them before. Here's a photograph of them after, and they keep flipping back till eventually it's like 1890, 1850, where it changes
It's
from
an
photographs
etching of before
to
and
draw
after.
to draw like
Hold
charcoal
still.
renderings. Yes, before and after drawings of what they. Sweet Jesus! But the startling thing is the first page or a page he finds behind is it's like here's the model girlfriend's face, and then there's a blank spot next to it for Sister Teresa. So
the little flower, Saint Teresa.
that's it. So the idea being that his girlfriend is eventually going to become the priest. No, he doesn't understand, or the nun or whatever, the new person looking out the window. He doesn't understand what all this means, but he's going to get to the bottom of this, goddammit. And he doesn't tell.
But I just want to throw in here for non-Catholics, suicide is a mortal sin. So if you die with a mortal sin on your soul,
Straight to hell.
Bueno. So it's like Constantine. They're given a reprieve. Well, frankly, they're not really given a lot of a choice, but you're not going to go to hell if you take on this role.
Aaron, you might know the answer to this better than me. If you attempt suicide and you go to your confession and confess, hey, I attempted this, won't they just throw you a couple Our Fathers, a couple Hail Marys, and you're good to go?
And you're good to go. But
right?
Because it didn't happen. You ain't dead.
You're alive to ask for forgiveness. Therefore, it should be able to wipe your slate clean. Keep in mind, there in Catholic Church, I'm giving you a quick lesson here. The three major sins, mortal sins, are what? Keep holy the Sabbath day. Got to go to church.
Right. Is it the 10 Commandments?
10 Commandments. It is.
I might be the next Sentinel. I'm not sure.
That might be the next. It's don't take the Lord's name in vain. So don't drop a bunch of GDs and JCs.
Kevin, is it correct? Is it the 10 Commandments? Are those aren't all mortal sins?
No, only the first three. The three sins against God are the mortal sins. And the third one is have no other gods before me. So those are the three. So you can't worship false idols, essentially. Those are the three mortal sins. Those are the bad ones. The venal sins include murder. The ones that aren't as bad
you won't get forgiven. I mean,
yes.
Basically, if Hitler hadn't committed suicide and had gone to confession,
yes, wiped clean. And again,
he'd be up there with Mother Teresa.
just put it out there. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. I just thought that was an amusing observation.
Here's another weird Catholic thought. So the goal is that we're all, when we die, that we're all in Jesus. That there's a theory that Earth is the purgatory, that our life is the purgatory, right?
Okay.
So then I'm always confused why when there's a death in a Catholic family, aren't they really in a better place? Isn't this where you wanted them to be versus the suffering we must endure because of because of original sin?
Well, that's always kind of
Welcome to my Catholic theological and camera podcast.
Yeah, but and not to defend all the Catholics. Catholics are typically kind of mellow and moderate in terms of their religion. Generally speaking, I don't want to paint too broad a brush.
We're talking more of the cafeteria Catholics, where you take your tray and you pick and choose.
That's exactly
not like people born into Catholicism versus the new converts.
The converts.
New converts are always the zealots.
Jonah
you vote Democrat, you're an abortionist. I'm like, I beg your pardon?
I beg your pardon, sir. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. When he discovers this, what the church's plan is for his girlfriend. He does not tell his girlfriend. Instead, he says to his girlfriend's best friend, "Hey, you're throwing a party. Keep an eye on her. I'll go solve this," basically. And he goes to the house by
Why
himself.
would you want your girlfriend to think you're just a dick and you're never around while she's in a crisis? This is why she wants to move out. Why wouldn't you say, "Babe, I'm looking into this. I'll let you know what I find." So at least she knows versus he's just indifferent and,
And
Tony
again,
Manero.
we're starting to get, as an audience member, you're starting to understand, okay, so eventually the model will replace the old aged father up in the attic in this building. But why is that important? When Chris Sarandon goes to the house by himself, approaching midnight, he somehow stumbles upon like a weird plaque, which was like quoting like John Milton, like "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." Evidently, this place is built on the doorway to hell. Okay?
And the priest is weak because he's dying. So all the freaks are starting to scramble out.
The reason why the movie's called The Sentinel is that throughout recorded history, I guess, they have a priest or a nun who stands guard over the doorway to hell. I get, but you're an old, enfeebled, blind clergy. I don't know what it is. You're by your mere presence.
I think it's by the presence. He's like the watchtower. His presence and his health keep bad things at bay.
Because a sentinel is a guardian. It's just another word for somebody like a night watchman or something along those lines.
Yes.
So Chris Sarandon finds this plaque, flips out, runs upstairs, kicks in the door, finds the old priest, John Carradine, who doesn't say...
Looks like he's got a dirt wig.
Looks like crapola. And he's 1,002 years old. And Chris Sarandon attacks him because like, "Tell me what's happening. Tell me or I'll strangle you to death." And he pounces on the old man and starts to strangle him. And then you see a hand grab one of those religious statues off a ledge and presumably beat Chris Sarandon to death. Kills Chris Sarandon off camera. So the girlfriend leaves the party, sneaks out, comes back here, and is greeted by Chris Sarandon and kind of tells her the whole story, what's going down, before revealing that, yes, he did kill his first wife because she wouldn't grant him the divorce so he could be with her, which is that was a thing back in the day. You had to have both parties agree to the divorce, I guess.
Well, he is an attorney, and he could have just lived with his girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah. He could have just been, "Deuces, I'm out."
The old murder in lieu of divorce always seems like a bust. But maybe that's just because I've seen way too many episodes of Law and Order, and I think that's how the justice system runs.
Well, he respected the sanctity of marriage, I guess is what it comes down to. So reveals...
You need to part, and it's till death do us part.
That's exactly right. At this point, weird freaks start coming out of the woodworks, roaming. And this is where I wrote distasteful, because doing research for this movie, what you realize is to save money on special effects, Michael Winner, this director, went to carnival sideshows and hospitals and found people with various disorders and hired them to be the denizens of hell in this movie. So pretty much every character you see who's got some kind of skin issue or malformation of some sort, that's just how they look. So the idea of this girl running around this apartment and being confronted by these poor souls and screaming in horror and recoiling, it didn't sit well with me. It seemed upsetting to me.
It did.
And, I mean, it's one thing if it's like these are people wearing masks, but when you realize these are real people and this is their real life, this is what they look like, and this is how we're saying, okay, when you see this person, recoil from them in horror just because that's just how they look in real life. That was kind of upsetting to me. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, 100% yes, but at the same time, They're getting paid for a job. It's like the dude from The Hills Have Eyes. Should we not hire him? He's being hired because of the way he looks,
Yeah.
which is awkward and uncomfortable. So should we just not hire him? Is he going to be a school teacher, the librarian, the ice cream man? So
It's kind of the question about when they used to have real sideshows in the
right,
United States back in the day. Because people, well-meaning people, saw sideshows as taking advantage, right,
right,
of these poor people who had these physical disabilities. So when they successfully managed to close down all the sideshows, suddenly those people were like, well, now I have no job and I have no way to
right,
earn money.
right,
So now what do I do?
right.
Unintended consequences.
I mean, you can make the same argument like for little people. It's a hard decision. I mean, it
Right.
sucks that they're super limited on
Mhm.
where they can work. So, do we take that away? I mean, I'm glad I'm not in charge of solving the world's issues.
Now, Michael Winner, the director, talked about how all of these actors that he hired for these roles were perfectly nice people, and it was a joy to work with them and all this stuff. But he also talked about how the unions of like the technicians who were working on the movie, the grips or whatever, insisted that these actors, the denizens of hell, had to eat separately by themselves because
Oh, see, now
they
that's
didn't
a
want to
different
eat with
issue.
them. They did
That's
not
an
want to eat
issue.
with them. Yes, and Michael Winner fought on behalf of these actors, but it's
Yikes!
it's
1970s.
1977.
1970s.
1977, this is what was going down. So so anyway, she's the denizens of hell, and intermingled within them you also saw the murderers. And we discovered that they were murderers because I guess she picked out their pictures in a lineups so that the detectives were
I
looking
thought
at
it
the
was the
pictures.
big book of people who it was literally
Yes,
like Rosemary's Baby, where it was the big book of all the ghost murderers that live in your
yes,
building.
that is correct.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Because there's only 5 dead murderers in all of the United States.
that's
So
correct.
here they are, but big clear photographs.
That's correct. It's like a high school yearbook. You just flip through it. Oh yeah, there's Burgess Meredith. Um, yeah, they'd all been murderers, but like 30 years or 40 years prior.
Yeah.
So it was like, and they
I
were all
wanted more
dead.
information on that. I wanted to know what Burgess Meredith did. I wanted to know what
Right.
the Twinsel, what the little couple did. I want to know everyone's little backstory.
Right. So they had all committed murders and had all died like in the 40s or something
And
thereabouts.
had gone to hell.
And it got that's what the reveal is. That this sentinel, the old blind priest, is about to go. So the walls to hell are loosening up. And the only way that the doors will open and all of these murderers will escape from hell is if they can convince the model to commit suicide once and for all rather than become the new sentinel. That's the idea. And John Carradine comes down with his giant cross, walks through the crowd of the denizens of hell, makes it, and she accepts the cross rather than committing suicide. And
I
basically,
mean,
go ahead.
it's what we call that a forced choice in education.
It is. It is
Do you
because
want to do your work now and then go to recess, or do you want to do your work now and then go to recess in 5 minutes?
right. Basically, well,
Okay, that
what
was
they
not a good
said,
example.
the Monsignor basically said something along the lines of, because you've attempted suicide twice, your soul is damned. Your only hope of redemption is if you willingly take this role as the sentinel for the rest of your life. And then only then can you be saved. And now that you've seen what awaits you on the other side of the door, I mean, right?
You're basically dead either way. It's just one, you're not going to hell. It's not like she's sitting up there going, this is so fucking boring, pacing around, trying to put on some music. No, she's basically dead no matter what.
But theoretically, this punishment of being the Sentinel, because this is not a happy choice, because then
No.
it cuts to, I don't know what it is, 30 years in the future. Tom Berenger arrives with his young wife to check out the apartment in the
He was
new
a thing,
building.
man.
And it's the same thing where it's like, oh, that's just Sister Teresa upstairs in, the attic or whatever. And it cuts to her, and it's old model woman with blind eyes sitting up in the window looking on. So if you live the rest of your life in this role, then eventually you go to heaven, I guess. Versus slit your wrist now and go to hell right now for all eternity. Those are your choices.
Well, hell looks bad, so I guess it's the lesser of two evils.
Any
My
last
question
thoughts?
is,
Go ahead.
yeah, I got a lot of shit.
We're an hour in, so let's do it.
Why? Well, we're an hour in because I couldn't get my computer to work. So here's my question. Why did they bulldoze that old building to build a new one? And if that's the gates of hell, where did our nun model go since she has to be there?
Well, did they accidentally open up the gates of hell at that moment? It's like, whoops.
Did they put a cap on it or something? If she has to be there looking out the window, what's happening with that? What's happened with that?
Well,
Is she in a trailer?
Did they
Construction trailer out front?
I think that's exactly what happened.
With
Did
the
they
mafia
demolish
dudes?
the building and rebuild it kind of a modern style to show time passing? Was that the whole reason why they did that?
It has to be. It makes no sense. First of all, that was a gorgeous building, and even with a couple of dead ghosts, it's an awful nice place.
It's awful nice.
I wrote down, thankfully, the ghost father had his clothes on, even if every woman had to be naked.
Yes.
At one point, she's a model, right? So models, I guess, wear clothes a lot.
They do.
But in her closet, as she's hiding in, there are literally 3 dresses and like 2 blouses.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. Poor Elephant Man is, in fact, John Merrick is in hell. And here's one of the classic. At one point, the 2 ladies that are apparently in hell also for having an affair with her father is breastfeeding a rat.
I did see that. And I saw
that may be the apex.
I saw the cat eating the canary in the hallway in a very gruesome manner. And I was just like, why? Lovely. Lovely, lovely. Anything else?
Well, nothing can top breastfeeding a rat. So
that is true. Nothing can. Shall we go behind the scenes?
Lay it on me.
Let's see what we got here. Jeff Goldblum was dubbed in all but one scene.
Why? It doesn't say why.
Does not say why. It should say that. Let's see.
I'm going to go onto his Instagram account, and I'm going to ask him.
Yes. Christina Rains, who played the model, said the film crew actually used the exterior and interiors of the Brooklyn Heights brownstone for the film. And she said that a lot of strange things happened while they were shooting there, particularly when she was assigned an apartment to use as her dressing room and found that it was being rented by a priest. Bum, bum, bum. So it's a true story, I think is what we're saying.
So it's based on a true story, if we go by Hollywood standards.
Let's see. Christina said that she did not like, Christina Rains, the model, said she did not like the director's maddening approach to directing. She said she cried every day on her way to work and admitted in a recent interview that she has never watched this film due to the treatment she received on set.
He wanted to be a Kubrick.
Something.
But he ain't a Kubrick.
Let's see. Michael Winner says that in his memoirs, he wanted Martin Sheen to play the male lead, but the studio vetoed this, saying he was a TV name.
And he's 3 feet tall, so.
What's like Martin Sheen in my mind is a Hollywood legend.
Yes.
But if you go and actually look at his IMDb, there's really not much there.
No.
You know what I mean?
Apocalypse Now.
You're right. That's the one. He was in Apocalypse
That's the
Now.
one.
That's the one. If you look at his movies from the 80s, he was usually like the third lead. He did a lot of TV movies. It's just interesting the way that is. Why
He would look
somebody a
like
big
Eric
star?
Roberts in Star 80 is what it would come down to.
That it's always Eric Roberts and Star
You got to
80.
throw in some Eric Watt. I'm just saying he's small. He's very small. Chris Sarandon is tall. She's tall. Back
Martin
then,
Sheen is
it was
ridiculously
nothing.
small. You don't realize how small he is.
He's a
He
pocket
is.
size.
He is.
He and Cruz. They can put one in each pocket.
Michael Winner claims the producers wanted Chris Sarandon for this because he was nominated for an Oscar for Dog Day Afternoon a year or two prior to this. Winner says he did not want Sarandon, but was afraid to confront the producer. A few weeks into shooting, Winner claims the producer saw dailies with Sarandon and asked, "What the hell is this Greek waiter doing in my film?" referring to Sarandon.
This Greek waiter.
I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing. Winner told the producer this is the actor he'd asked for, and by that time, no change could be made. Later,
I'm not really sure who Chris Sarandon is, but I hear a buzz.
I'm hearing buzz. There was a story, kind of unrelated. Also, one of those Canon film guys. They wanted to make Alan Quatermain and King Solomon's Mine. They wanted to make their own version of Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Right.
So they kept saying, "Get that stone woman. Get that stone woman." This is the Israeli movie producer. "Get that stone woman." So they went and they hired Sharon Stone to be in King Solomon's Mines. He went and then the producer saw the dailies. He's like, "Who the hell is this? I wanted that stone woman." He's like, "Yeah, this is Sharon Stone." He was referring to Kathleen Turner from
I almost said
Romancing
that
the
from
Stone.
Romancing the Bone.
Right. That's what he meant. But by then it was too late.
Too late.
Wah, wah, wah. Let's see. What else? Oh, also, Michael Winner talked about that if he had his way, like if you go back in time and change it, his stars would have been Christopher Walken and Beverly D'Angelo. He would have switched those parts.
Beverly D'Angelo, also a leprechaun, is clearly not a model.
That's true.
She's a pixie. True. This chick is tall and lean. You can buy it. I mean, she cleans up real nice.
She cleans up real nice. As far as the use of people with actual physical deformities in the film, the Jeffrey Konvitz, who wrote the book The Sentinel, says Winner went from scary and subtle to unsubtle and gross. The original author of the book had huge issues with Michael Winner and his choices. He felt like the closing scenes with the denizens of hell coming out should have been like kind of shadowy and ethereal, and that Winner insisted on way too much light being put on these poor individuals.
Right. But it's not the first time the writer disagrees with the director.
True. The reason why they cast an ensemble of older stars like Burgess Meredith, Ava Gardner, John Carradine, etc., was a Universal Studios decision since they had success with an ensemble in the movie Airport.
Huh. Yeah.
So they were trying to...
I don't have a problem with it. Everybody is fantastic. Burgess Meredith, motherfucker. It was like everybody is somebody, even if they have two lines. Yes. Even if you're dubbed the entire time.
Sentinel author Jerry Konvitz refers to director Michael Winner as an egomaniacal maniac in the Blu-ray commentary. And he says that Michael Winner's response to most of his criticisms were, "Stop worrying about it. Go find some girls."
Oh, Jesus. It's the 70s. I got some cocaine and some gold chains. Let's go. I'm going to have a Harvey Wallbanger, and then I'm meeting Tony Manero, and we're going to the disco.
Absolutely. In the commentary, Michael Winner, the director, calls himself an idiot for having turned down offers to direct James Bond films and The French Connection, deciding instead to do movies like The Sentinel.
I guess you are an idiot, because French Connection is bang.
Absolutely. shall we talk about the cast? And we talked about the crew a little bit. Let me hit director Michael Winner one more time, give you some information about him. He's known for Death Wish, The Sentinel, something called Firepower, and something else called Hannibal Brooks. You know him, don't you? No, we don't. For the cast, Christina Rains played Allison Parker, the model. You know her from such things as Nashville in 1975, The Duelists in 1977, The Sentinel also in 1977, and something called Sentinel from 78, 79, 10 episodes. You know it, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Chris Sarandon played Michael Lerman, the boyfriend / attorney. You know him from Nightmare Before Christmas, The Sentinel, and of course, Fright Night, Child's Play. All stars. All star stuff here. Who else do you want to know about? I mean, there's, like we said, there's 10,000 famous old actors in this. Burgess Meredith.
Rocky, the Penguin. What else do you need to know?
Burgess Meredith played Charles Chazen. You know him from Clash of the Titans, Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3. He was in a bunch of Twilight Zone episodes, of course. Anybody else you want to know about?
No. I was just trying to Google information on the Jeff Goldblum, but it's a lot of theories and nothing definitive. It was mostly because he has a goofy voice, which is 100% true. But I assume you would have noticed that when you hired him.
Absolutely.
And since you've worked with him in the past, unless he's dubbed, but I'm gonna DM him on social media and say, "What's up, Jeff Goldblum?"
We talked about how Tom Berenger had a bizarre little cameo at the end as somebody renting the new apartment.
Yeah, it said it's listed as man at end of movie or some ridiculous part.
Yes, it's true. There's another bizarre little cameo. Richard Dreyfuss is an extra. I missed that. He's an extra. About 7 minutes into the movie, you see him in the background talking to some girl. He has no lines, just doing his thing.
All right.
So bizarre.
Damn it, I forgot about that.
Shall we talk about the rating?
Lay it on me.
The rating. The Sentinel currently has 45% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
You know what
No.
You know what the audience gave it?
What?
44%. Top critics. Vincent Canby of the New York Times says, the confrontations are supposed to be terrifying, but the most they offer is some mild creepiness. What do you think of that?
I really enjoyed this. It had been like 100 years since I saw this. I think I saw it definitely in my youth, and probably on some what was it, the movie channel or some nonsense pre HBO. And I thought it was creepy, and on rewatch, I still thought it was pretty good. It was entertaining.
Variety staff said,
oh my God.
The Sentinel is a grubby, grotesque excursion into religioso psychodrama, notable for uniformly poor performances by a large cast of familiar names.
What?
And direction that is hysterical and heavy-handed. There you go.
I have to say that seems extreme. I mean, I think looking at today's eyes, the ending is problematic. So I think today's viewers are going to pan the whole movie because of it. That's my thought. Because I don't think it's a 40%.
So what is your rating?
So my rating, I was going to go pretty high, quite frankly. I was going to go 3.25 for this kind of Rosemary's Baby, Burnt Offering, Psycho, kind of, it grabs from a couple of places. All-star cast, 4 out of 5, me bringing Burgess Meredith as my fiance to Thanksgiving dinner. Boom.
Damn. 4 out of 5.
All right, take that back. 3.25.
No, don't let me, my reaction.
No, I said 3.25 at first, and then I forgot what I said. I was just rambling.
Then you went up to 4. I was like, good Lord.
I don't know what I was thinking. 3.25 out of 5 Burgess Meredith is my fiance.
I'm
At
going to
Thanksgiving.
say
Surprise.
2.75 full frontal 80-year-old nudity is
Full
what I'm
frontal
talking
all the time.
all the time.
Unless you're a man.
I found it kind of confusing at times. I found it kind of bewildering in the sense like I didn't feel like the Allison, whatever her name was, really reacted that well to the strangeness most of the time. Most of the time she just seemed to be like, oh, that's kind of peculiar. And Chris Sarandon, her boyfriend, his actions seemed largely unmotivated until the end. And then I found it had like really one scary moment in the middle of the movie. Then, based upon what I knew, I found the ending kind of upsetting more than scary. You know, distasteful, disturbing, however you want to describe it,
Right.
rather than frightening. So now keep in mind, I basically wandered in not knowing where it was going at all. So perhaps I'd watched it late at night on my tablet in my bed. I would have a different reaction. I watched it broad daylight at home. Not horrible.
I'm
Not
not
horrible.
saying that you're wrong. Everything
you.
you said is true. But I just still found it entertaining.
That's
Not
okay.
scary. I'd only seen it once before. I remember the end when people were crawling up the stairs being scary as a kid. But otherwise, I thought it was entertaining. I was like, what's happening next? I like looking at the fashion. I'm like, I don't know what Chris Sarandon makes no goddamn sense.
And his mustache.
I just found it entertaining.
That is allowed.
That and the fact that everyone in Jesus is in this. So it's like, where's Waldo? Who's that in the background? Is that Sir Laurence Olivier digging through a trash can as a homeless person?
Available.
I don't know. Maybe it was.
That is the craziest thing. How many not just the older celebrities, but also young up and comers who are all in this thing. So bizarre. And again, most of them say little to nothing. Christopher Walken had 2 words. Jeff Goldblum dubbed over completely. So who knows what the hell he was saying. It was probably, the Jeff Goldblum, and frankly, this is probably true of Christopher Walken, where it's just their weird cadences. It make it so like, why are you saying your lines like this? F it, we're just going to dub you. Christopher Walken, you know what? We're tired of it. You get 2 words in this movie. Moving on. That's what I think. So there you go. Write it down. So, thank you very much. Go to our page on Facebook. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. You may be watching us on YouTube at this very moment. For goodness'
If not,
sake.
you should be. They're not watching. We're not live. They're not watching it at this moment.
Well, to them, it could be this moment.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
All right.
Anywho, you can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media?
I got much media. I've got the gram.
Yeah.
I am no, I'm not. I am the podcast that wouldn't die on the gram. I'm also I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I'm also Don't Feed the Pigeon. I am on the threads. Mostly I'm just posting artsy fartsy stuff. I'm on X. I like now it says X, formerly Twitter. This is literally like when Prince was that symbol.
It's a freak show.
And FYI, I finally blocked Elon Musk because even though I don't follow him, it's always my top alerts. He's pushing it out. So
he's changing the rules. He's changing.
So you can't block him.
You can't block people anymore, except through DMs. You can stop people from direct messaging you, but you cannot remove people from your thread.
Dude, I'm on my way out. Quite frankly, they're all changing, so you don't even see the people you follow anymore. Which I don't mind on TikTok because I'm managing the account, so I'm not looking at any of your stuff. I want to see other people's stuff.
Well, it's funny because on some level there was a time when I got a lot of my news from Twitter. I'd follow news reporters or whatever, so it'd be like up to the minute. Here's what's in your world today. But now because they've changed the algorithm so it's not the latest. You don't get the news anymore. So now it's just kind of a
No.
weird, bizarro thing. And I've
You got
moved.
to go back to basics. I mean, half the people I know don't watch the local news. We were just talking about this. They don't know a hurricane is coming.
I didn't know until Alexa told me yesterday.
Yeah.
Totally. It's bad. It's bad.
I
And
watch
tried
local news with my coffee in the morning, mostly to find out we have weird things like fog delays. We also have a lot of construction. So I always watch the local news for a half an hour or so just to see what's up. But most people do not. So you're right. They got their news from the Twitsky. And now it's
so
like
you'll get the information 3 days later or not at all.
Right.
No, it's a total freak show. And I tried to move to Threads, and it seemed like maybe that was going to be something, but it seems like it's a wasteland. Like people aren't really going there either. People aren't really doing things there either. So it's just social media.
And I specifically didn't want all the political stuff that I have on Twitter on my Threads account. Right. So any people I followed on Twitter or Instagram that then were just posting nonstop political stuff, I unfollowed because I'm trying to just use Threads for artistic things and
happy
stuff like
things.
that. Happy things. This is going to be my happy place. So don't bring my reality back to me.
Don't do it. So as you guys know, with teenage suicide, don't do it. That's from Heather's. What we try to do each week is read viewer listener mail. So Aaron, I'm going to kick it to you. What does Agnes Moorhead have to say about our latest
Susie
episode?
Quattro from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, wanted to have us do more Dario Argento. 100%, because he is the master of the macabre. So Susie wrote in and said, Aaron, please, can't you do opera? Because more things poking in people's eyes are what gets me through the week. And I said, Susie, we're on it.
Is that what we're doing? Because that was what we were
eventually. Sorry, Susie.
Sorry, Susie, wherever you may be. We'll add it to the list. How about that? We'll add it to the list. Did we decide what we're doing next week? Are we going to do Argento?
Yeah, which one are we going to do?
We are going to do Cat of Nine Tails.
Cat of Nine Tails. Haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
Don't know nothing about it. It's on. I think it's on the top 10.
It is. It's Dario Argento Giallo, which we love very much. You can watch it on Tubi, Shudder, AMC Plus, Canopy, and Plex. If you're not using, I downloaded Plex. Plex is free, and it has a lot of these movies. And I don't think, maybe it does have commercials. It must have commercials, but that's okay. It gets the job.
It gives you a chance to go get a drink and have a pee. Absolutely. Remember commercials? I'm always confused when commercials come on my Spotify or when I watch these movies, because as it is, I don't watch anything live.
Right. It's a whole thing.
So I'm like, what's happening? And I want to say, speaking of Argento, I talked some trash about Asia Argento and Anthony Bourdain, but now I feel bad because literally now I looked at one video and now TikTok there's so much hate on TikTok and so much detail. So I'm trying not to talk crap anymore.
We're gonna put love in the world.
The end, it's all gossip, and gossip is a sin. But I'll still gossip.
It's a sin. It'll send you straight to hell.
Maybe I just won't put it on the podcast when I gossip.
So send us your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and maybe we'll talk about it on the show like we do with Agnes Moorhead and Susie Quattro. So thank you very much, and be well.
Survive Hurricane 2023 California. I can't wait. I'll post a picture of me in a canoe floating down on my way to the ocean 2.5 hours away. Whee!